They named this movie Chum, and that might be the most accurate thing about it. Welcome to Scary World, where I walk you through the best, the worst, and the downright disturbing. I'm Arturo Padilla.
Hi.
Let's get into it. A newlywed couple and their friends set out on a yacht trip only to get pinned between a great white and a fisherman with a grudge and a hidden agenda.
It's gonna hurt, Captain. Not as much as this.
The first category is production. This movie was directed by Jonathan Zuck, and right off the bat, you notice how cheap this thing looks. And not a scrappy indie movie cheap or a low-budget B-movie cheap either. It's just all lifeless and flat. One major red flag that made a film nerd like myself jump off the couch was the egregious rack focus. When your crew can't cleanly pull focus from a foreground subject to a background one, that's the entire production waving a white flag. It's also something that another take could have easily rectified. Yet, they decided this was okay, even in post-production. Speaking of post-production, the editing had no rhythm, no sense of tension, no idea when to cut or when to hold on to a shot. The whole thing felt like it was assembled by people learning the tools in real time, and that's not what you want. For production, Chum got a 0 out of 2. This movie looked terrible from start to finish. There were no redeeming qualities at any level of production here. The entire execution of this movie was just off. I'm not sure what they were doing. I'm not sure what they were thinking during filming, but everything just seemed like no one cared. Everything was just half-assed. The next category is story. The script and story are just awful, full of cliches and bad tropes. The dialogue is poorly written, not giving the actors any opportunity to pull off a good performance. Speaking of, the characters are just as bad. There's very little development and nothing to grab onto. You end up rooting for the shark more than you do the people. The first act is a slog, and the second act tries to make things interesting, but that's not saying much in comparison to the slop surrounding it. Speaking of slop, that third act is dreadful. It's not worth sitting through the 87 minutes of runtime. And then, the part that really got me mad as a horror fan, they ripped off the awesome line, "Because you're here," from The Strangers. One of the most iconic gut punches in modern horror, and it fell just as flat as every other line in this movie. For story, Chum got another 0 out of 2. There are no parts of this story that stand out at all. From start to finish, this thing is just poorly written, poorly executed. The beats are all off, and they're there, but they don't hit the way beats should, and it feels like a drag the entire time. The next category is ensemble. This cast was bad from top to bottom. No dynamics, no chemistry, nothing between any two people on screen that suggests they've ever met prior to filming. The line delivery is just cringeworthy, making you shake your head constantly throughout this movie. The performances range from flat to distracting. There's not a single standout. Seems like no one was trying to be good in this movie. For ensemble, Chum gets another 0 out of 2. Like I said, the cast was just bad. There's not much else to say about it. The actors just seem to not like the material, I guess, but they signed on to this thing. They must have read the script before coming on board. I don't understand why you would want to do this to your career. The next category is horror. There is blood and gore in this thing, but it's not the kind you want. The practical effects are rough and gross looking in the worst way, and the CG is even worse. And the cherry on top, the shark looks like some Shark Week B-roll that somebody dropped into the editing timeline and hoped you wouldn't notice. There's no real impact to it, no menace, no sense that anything on screen shares physical space with the actors. For a creature feature hinging on this aspect, that's a wrap. For horror, Chum gets another 0 out of 2. This movie did not do a good job in this department at all. They tried their best with some practical work, but the practical work looked awful. It looked like those plastic amputated limbs you pick up at a Halloween store. They were just gross looking and had no real natural features to them. And then the fact that they decided to do close-ups on these things was just egregious, man. I don't understand why you would want to showcase that poor practical work. The last category is legacy. The single kindest thing I can say about Chum is that it had the decency to be under 90 minutes. That's it. That's the legacy. For legacy, Chum gets another 0 out of 2. There are no redeeming qualities in this production whatsoever. It's tough to even try and grab some sort of positivity out of this whole thing. There's just none to be found at all. Now let's add it all up. For production, Chum got a 0. For story, a 0. For ensemble, a 0. For horror, a 0. And for legacy, another 0, bringing the total up to a big fat 0 out of 10. Yikes, this was terrible. Chum is one of those movies that fails at every level. Just skip it. There's better content on the Discovery Channel. I'm Arturo Padilla, and remember folks, it's a scary world out there, but I am here to walk you through it. See you next time.